Self-professed foodies Jane and Michael Stearns are out with a different kind of book. This one takes readers on a cross-country tour of some of the nation's best regional dishes.
Everything from corn dogs to Johnny cakes and even fluffernutters. The book is called The Lexicon of Real American Food. And here to tell us about some of his favorite dishes and recipes is co-author Michael Stearns. Nice to have you here on Connecticut Style.
Great to be here. How are you?
What a great job you have touring the country and finding the best food.
I will give up this job when they pry the fork from my cold, dead fingers. You know, it's a great job. I mean, and there is so much to discover when you travel around this country. You know, a lot of people think hamburgers, hot dogs, what else is there? American food is unbelievably rich, primarily because there is no such thing as purely American food. Everything we eat in this country, from yak ha mein in New Orleans to the chowders of the Pacific Northwest, comes from somewhere else.
But talking about chowders, I saw that list. I had no idea there was such a thing as an Oregon chowder.
Oh yeah, they're big on chowder in Oregon. And the fact is there's a downstate Illinois chowder that no one's ever heard of, except people
Rhode
in
Island
downstate
and New England.
And of course there's
Rhode
Rhode Island chowder, there's Manhattan.
I had no
New
idea all those other chowders existed.
Yeah, well, and you know, everyone thinks their chowder is the greatest one. It's like barbecue. You know, you could start a civil war over, is it beef, is it pork, should it be sauce, should it not be sauce? Do you serve it with hush puppies or do you serve it with corn cakes?
Kind of depends whether you're in North Carolina or Kansas City
or Memphis or Texas or Arizona. Everyone has their own special way of doing it, which makes American food so much fun.
So let's talk about the book and the journey you took to how it all came together.
Well, the Lexicon of Real American Food is really the result of years and years of traveling around the country and eating with the locals. You know, when we say real American food, what that means is not the fancy pants food that you eat in deluxe restaurants and pay $30, $40, $50 for. This is dining in cafes and truck stops.
Greasy spoons, probably, right?
Greasy spoons galore. I mean, the kinds of places where people sit down to eat a breaded pork tenderloin in Iowa, or a piece of sour cream raisin pie in Minnesota, or crawfish in Louisiana. I mean, these are the kinds of dishes that that people really feel are part of their culture, and they really have a kind of whole historical, cultural component that makes it more than just something to eat. It's part of people's identity.
Sure. This book covers from A to Y.
A to Y, we couldn't find a really good Z. Y, of course, is the dish called yak ha mein, which is very popular in New Orleans and known as a hangover cure, as is menudo in the Southwest. You know, different parts of the country have their own different hangover cures.
What are they?
Well,
since we're on the topic.
Actually, there is not. Sorry. A couple aspirin is it. No, yak ha mein is actually sort of sort of like ramen noodles, but better, like real ones.
Okay.
And menudo is a hominy and tripe stew that is served only on weekends in southwestern cafes in Texas
interesting.
and
Okay.
Arizona.
Wow. Okay, now this is not a cookbook though. People need to know that.
There are some recipes.
Right.
I mean, there are recipes here, for example, for wet ribs and dry ribs from Memphis, or there's a recipe there for American chop suey from the Northeast. But mostly it's really a book about these different dishes, where they come from, what they mean to people, and sort of the different variations of, for example, pizza. You know, how many different varieties of pizza are there around the country?
Yeah,
and again,
true.
everyone thinks theirs is, like, people from Chicago think deep dish pizza is it.
Right.
You know, people from the Northeast, well, we like a more Neapolitan style. So.
Right, the thin pizza.
Yeah.
Different places you go in the country, they're gonna serve different food. Like when I was in Louisiana, certainly macaroni was a lot different than it is here in New England.
That was a shock to me. That macaroni and cheese is a really big deal in Louisiana.
It is.
And actually, some of the very best, but it's nothing like you'll get around here.
Very different. Same with pizza. So I guess it depends where you are.
It depends on where you are, and that's what makes that's what makes it so easy to do a lexicon of real American food. With, I think we have over 500 different entries, and probably could have had 500 more, because there are so many variations in our diets around the country. And as I said, it's not just food on a plate, it's people's identity. I mean, you know, like a crawfish boil in Louisiana, or a clam bake in the Northeast. I mean, these are things that really mean something to people's heritage.
Sure.
And in that sense, it's really, you know, it's a real taste of the country in a sense that's more than what's on a plate.
What's perhaps the most unusual dish that you have in the book?
Well, shall I talk about Rocky Mountain oysters?
Sure.
Also known as swinging beef, or another word for it is tendergroin.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that?
Aren't you glad you asked?
Okay,
Could
really
skip
quickly
that.
though, we got to get to your signing. Where are you going? You're going to have a book signing soon.
On Wednesday the 7th, we will be at R.J. Julia's at 7 o'clock. We will be signing copies of the Lexicon of Real American Food and talking about some of the adventures we had while researching it.
That's going to be a lot of
Terrific.
fun.
Listen,
All right.
Great having you here. A lot
Great
of fun.
to be here.
All right, more Connecticut Style after the break. We'll be right back.